Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to set our grading plan to a title block. The title block is already put on the class share folder, and it is a 24 by 36 title block. So to do that, we're going to go to the layout tab, layout one. We do have two different layout tabs, and of course, we just work with the first one. Layout tab one, and then right click, and then we're going to go to page setup manager because this is a 24 by 36 sheet. So we go right click to page setup manager. And then under layout one, we're going right now by default, it's 8.5 by 11 inches. 8.5 by 11 inches is the default size. So it's actually an A size sheet that shows up by default. So we need to change it because this is not a size sheet. So we're going to go to modify. And then under modify, we're going to change the paper size over to an architectural D 36 by 24. Architectural D 36 by 24. We are going to leave this 1-to-1 and pretty much everything else stays the same. Make sure this says inches, ladies and gentlemen. If this doesn't say inches, we need to make sure we change this over from millimeters over to inches, okay? It should say inches, okay? So just make sure we do that because I know we had some of those issues in the last semester. So just make sure that this does say inches here and you'll say inch over here, X and Y 00. 36 by 24 will be the sheet size. Hit OK and close. All right. Now, for some of you guys, the background, it might still be white. If that's the case, you can go to change it. If you want to change it to a black background, it's up to you. But if you do, you can type in OP for options. And under options, you're going to go to the display tab. Or right here in the middle, there's a button that says colors. We're going to click on colors. And then the sheet layout should be highlighted uniform background. Mine was already in black, so that's why it shows up in black, but yours might be white. So if that's the case where your white background, you want to change it, you just go to colors, make sure the sheet layout and uniform background are highlighted, change it from white over to black. Apply and close, hit OK. All right. Okay, we already have a viewport here, but just to remind you how to create a viewport, I'm going to go ahead and erase this one. And before I create the viewport, let me go ahead and insert the title block. So let's go ahead and insert the title block first. Okay. So mine has already been loaded here because I was actually working with it yesterday. But to go and actually load it, you're going to have to go to the libraries tab over here on the left. Like I said, mine's already here because I already loaded it yesterday. But let me just show you how to do it on yours because you might not have it loaded yet. So you're going to click on this button in here where we're going to display a file navigation dialog box so we can navigate over to our G drive, shared drives, class share, pretty much where we've been saving everything for our civil drafting class. First year civil engineering, drafting 2330 civil drafting. And then the title block we're going to be using, I have to double click on that one, is going to be the X sheet. The X sheet is the title block we're going to be using for this class, and hit open. Okay. You'll see a message that it's loading. Once it loads here in a little bit, you should see an icon of your X sheet. Okay. And then from there, you should be able to simply just press and hold and drag it onto your, oops, I guess still thinking. There we go. You should just be able to press and hold it and drag it onto your sheet, okay? And then we'll just have to grab it and move it and place it as close as we can to that rectangle. It won't be exact, but it's just, as close as we can. And again, it won't be exact, but that's okay. As long as we're pretty close, that's all I'm going to ask for, okay? So again, you should just press and hold and drag it, or you can right-click and click Insert on it. Either one would work just as well, okay? So we need to either drag it or right-click, click Insert on top of the little icon to insert that title block. Don't forget that once you insert the title block, we still need to explode it. So we need to click X for explode, because then you're going to have to come in here and edit some information. For example, I already put in the McKinley Retail Center name. I have the title block here because you are part of the 2330 Civil Drafting EPCC class. And then we have a logo that I kind of made up for ourselves. I think it looks pretty cool. So the only thing that I'm going to ask you is go ahead and start putting your name. So you ed for edit, and you put your name here, and you just type in your full name, Salvador Torres. Okay. The date is today's date, so we can go ahead and type in February 17th, comma, 2021. Okay. Kind of stacked itself like that. Let me see. Oh, when we're editing it, we need to grab this thing here and just kind of make this wider. But even then, it gets up a little bit too big. So maybe, I guess what we'll do, maybe we'll just do the 2/17/2021. Okay. So if anybody's having trouble with the libraries, I'll tell you how to fix that in a little bit. Okay. And then the scale. We don't know the scale yet. That's what we're going to determine next. Okay. So I'm done inserting the title block. Don't forget to explode it to be able to edit the information with your name, the date, and the scale. Again, the scale, we're going to determine that here in a little bit. So I'm done with this. I'm going to close this guy. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to create my viewport. So the command for that is mv for model view. MV for model view. So it's MV, click. And we do have different ways of creating the viewports. So for now, the first option is just basically, like it says, specify the corner of the viewport or any of these other options. So I'm just going to create a window. I'm going to click a window right in here and right in here, más o menos. Okay. So the yellow line right now is representing the window. Of course, yours might be a different color. It's just that my current layer happens to be the C contour minor. So if yours is a different color, that's okay. It's just depending on what is your current layer. Okay. We are going to make a layer specifically for the viewport, so we'll talk about that next. But for now, we just need to create the viewport by using the MV command and then click on one corner. I don't want to snap it to the endpoint, so I just want to make sure I'm not at the endpoint. And right over here. Okay. After we do that, we're going to double click inside the viewport to activate the viewport. And then we need to start talking about a scale. So the scale that I want to put it in is something that's going to fit, where it'll fit the entire grading plan. Okay. And we might even have to orient the north a little bit and just kind of twist it around just to get it to fit a little bit better. So let's see what we can do. So I'm going to get it close to where I want to, because I want to zoom in here, más o menos, right in this area. And then we got to mess around with our scales. This one right in here. Okay. I'm sorry. This one right in here. Sorry, not this one. So we're going to adjust our scales, and we're going to use a civil engineering scale. So we're going to get in here as close as we can. Click on the list. And these are all civil engineering scales, so we don't see any architectural scales. So let's try one. Let's try a 1:40. Oh, yeah, that's way too small. 1:20. 1:10. Okay. Actually, 1:10 works pretty good. 1:10 works pretty good. And then in here, I'm just going to pan it around. As long as it stays 1:10, just keep an eye on this. Right now, I set it at 1:10. Just keep an eye on it, that whenever you're panning around and stuff, that you don't mess with it. Because remember, if you do this, that scale is already off. See that? So you got to be really, really careful to make sure once you put it 1:10, it stays 1:10, and then you're going to pan it around to where it actually fits. And I think that's going to fit pretty good right there. There's still a little bit of area here that's going to get clipped off, but we'll adjust the viewport a little bit bigger. And then once we're there, don't forget that we need to go in here and click on this button to lock the viewport. Okay. So once we set the scale first, it's already done. We panned it. I realize I need to fix some areas here, and I'll do that right now. But generally speaking, 1:10 looks pretty good. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to lock the viewport. So don't forget that once you're done and you're happy with it, you're going to click on this icon to go ahead and lock the viewport. Okay. So the little lock should turn blue, and then that way it will stay locked at that scale. Okay. All right. We do need to create a layer. Remember that we have layers at Civil 3D creates for us. But the layer that I want to create for us, I want to call it kind of like what we did last semester, viewports. I'm going to set that layer with a color of 250. And we are going to make it a no plot layer. So don't forget that that one layer, we're going to hit this little icon right in here to make it no plot. So that means it's just one plot. Anything that's on that layer will not plot. We'll see it on the screen, but it just won't print on paper. Okay. So that viewport layer, viewport we'll call it, color 250. We're just going to make that a no plot layer. Okay, and then you'll see the little minus right next to the printer, which means it just won't print. And then after that, we're going to change this layer over to the viewport layer. It'll probably be at the bottom of the list. Somewhere in here. It's a lot of layers, so it has to sort through them. Viewport. Perfect. There we go. Okay. A couple of other things we need. It's up on top of the ribbon. This icon should appear that says Layout Tools. Under Layout Tools, we actually have a couple of things that we can use. We can use, because we do need a north arrow, okay? So this grading plan has a north arrow built in. As a matter of fact, the north is actually pointing a little bit to the left. And I think they oriented it a little bit differently like that just to get it to fit. So I'm pretty happy with ours, the way it turned out to be. So I think we'll leave it at that. But we could essentially rotate the viewport if we needed to. And if you wanted to do that, the way you do that is you'd have to unlock the viewport and then rotate the north a little bit to get it to fit, if that's what you wanted to do, okay? We don't have to in this case, but if you wanted to, you could. And like I said, what I had to do is go to activate the viewport, unlock the viewport, and then on this ring right in here on the view cube, you press and hold it, and then you just drag it around to rotate it to where you want it to be, okay? So that's if you wanted to. But other than that, you know, I think this will work for us at that scale of 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Okay. North arrow. We click on here, north arrow, and we'll just use one of these default north arrows that are built in to the Civil 3D software. I will tell you a lot of these companies have their own north arrow that they like you to use. So just make sure that you use their north arrow and title blocks. I'm sorry, their north arrow, titles, scale bars, and all that. So make sure we do that to their standard. In our case, we'll just go ahead and use one of these. I'll let you pick whichever one you want. We are going to have to pick a north arrow. So I'll just go maybe with this one right in here. Or actually, this one looks pretty cool too. Again, I'll let you pick your own north arrow, just something that looks nice from here. You can actually make your own too. You can even load your own custom north arrow if you wanted to. So I'll let you pick one. I'm just going to pick a random one right in here. Now, once we do that, it asks us to select the viewport. The reason for that is because if north is not pointing straight up, it'll orient the north in that direction, kind of like how this one is. See how this one is not pointing straight up. So it would orient it that way. But in our case, you know, as long as, depends on how you did it. If you rotated it, it's still going to ask you for to select the viewport. So you're going to select that one. And then just click the location of the north arrow. Just kind of put it over here to the left, to the right, I'm sorry. Click it in here. Not sure why, but when you bring it in, it actually comes in pretty small. It comes in super, super small. Not sure why. So you just grip the arrow, and then you grab this little adjuster here, and then just drag it and just make it bigger. So I don't know why it comes in so small. And just put in something that looks nice. Okay, don't go crazy with anything really, really big. Just something decent, something that looks nice to pretty much tell us which way north is pointing, which is straight up. And then the last thing we're going to need for now is going to be a scale bar. The scale bar is just like this one right in here. Again, each office usually has their own little scale bar. So ours, we'll just use the one that's one of these that's in here. Don't use metric. Remember, metric is meters. We are working with imperial units, but they're all mixed in there together. So we have some metric and imperial, so just make sure you use one of the imperial ones. Which one? It's up to you. They're all different. It's just kind of hard to read what these say, but nonetheless, click on any one of them. Again, make sure it says imperial. Click on that one. Once again, it wants to link itself to a viewport, so you select the viewport. And then in here, kind of weird that we put imperial, but it still comes out as meters. You're going to change meters over to feet. And then I think this one goes to our scale factor. If we're using 10, we're going to put, it's because it's 1 to 10, so we're going to put 10 feet with a label of and that kind of goes by default as feet. Hit OK, and then you drop in the scale bar underneath the north arrow. So right now, it's unknown until I click on it, and then that 1 is going to change over to a 10. So we'll have a 10 and 20-foot scale bar. Okay. As far as a layer, let's go ahead and put it under layer 0 for now. We'll decide if we're going to be using a different layer, a Lego layer. So let's just go ahead and put those under layer 0. Okay. So that's what we need for our title block.